This is the dead internet theory. So like when you have everybody creating AI slop, everything is slop and everything sucks.
If you are a professional, it can't took your job. It just improve your output.
Cold outreach is getting harder by the day. Email service providers are getting much better at recognizing when somebody is blasting a ton of spam. So there's going to be stopgap measures that are either proof of humanity, proof of work. Those that don't are eventually going to get left behind.
Okay, let's start right immediately after, and then I will ask you to introduce yourself. Okay, it's not a top secret, I think so. All this text-based cold outreach, in my opinion, actually they're really dying, because I don't know, I'm getting a lot of cold emails generated with AI, etc. Like, and they, I don't know, 99% of them, they pretty much the same. Nothing about me and benefit of me, but like, okay, and they are done. I know that you are kind of AI guru as well, and can you prove me that sending hyper personalized AI video actually can increase conversion, open rate, and or it's just gimmick and that doesn't pay off?
Sure. So there's a few different areas to kind of look into. There's not one perfect answer like every marketer out there. It always starts with "it depends," which is unfortunate. So the first thing is, cold outreach is getting harder by the day because, like everybody else, it's ad nauseum. We're constantly flooded, whether it's our LinkedIn inbox, our DMs on different social channels, or even inside of communities. You're constantly getting a barrage of this. And I think the old days of getting into somebody's inbox is, it's not as fruitful as it once was because we're constantly inundated with this stuff. On the other side of it, email service providers are getting much better at recognizing when somebody is blasting a ton of spam into your inbox. So a lot of the messages that once hit your regular work email, those get filtered out pretty quickly. So it's always this kind of cat and mouse game of trying to either outsmart the email service providers or try to outsmart maybe some of the targets that you're trying to go after in order to get their attention for a minute to either pitch them or give them something of value, hoping that maybe on the off chance they like what you have to say, they can book a meeting or sign up for a demo or buy what it is that you're selling. I think the challenge is that medium is becoming, email specifically, is becoming a lot less viable. And so people are turning to different areas. I would say what the newer, kind of more novel approach to this is creating a heck of a lot of content on platforms that people tend to circulate and see it for what it is. So you see a lot more AI avatars, you see a lot more content creators that are in a roundabout way shilling different products and services that may or may not feel like ads, but they are talking about things that they use in a prolific way. I think the direct approach in terms of reaching people via email is becoming really difficult because you have to solve for a few things, right? You have to solve for, are they in the market right now for what it is that you're selling? Do they have the money? And is this a decision that they're interested in making in the near future? If you can't solve for all those things, you're kind of out of luck. And so it's been quite difficult as somebody that used to hang their hat on doing a lot of email outreach in an automated fashion. You have to get, I would say, a lot more creative the way that you actually do it these days.
And I like all these people who use AI avatars because I know it's not so easy. For example, make a written cold email via AI, it's just a few seconds. But make a real avatar, it takes times, and I value this time taken by marketers to create these avatars. But I couldn't ask, in your experience, does this really AI avatars, I don't know, bring some trust, or because they're kind of slight robotic, and do really people appreciate the effort of personalization, or I don't know, it's just make founder look human, or not really?
Sure. Yeah, I get what you're laying down. There's another "it depends" beginning statement.
Sure. It's always it depends.
Right. So, I'm not sure what relationship you have with your parents, but on a fairly regular basis, I get sent AI videos, and it's like, Dad, that's AI. That's not a real person. Or this is like a totally fake, Ring doorbell video. That's not real. And for probably in perpetuity, that generation is never going to have the same set of eyes that we are in terms of being able to recognize, well, this isn't genuine. So when I was doing outreach for a company that I was a few years back the chief marketing officer of, I ran a bunch of outreach through a platform called SendSpark. SendSpark is like a video recording platform, very similar to Loom, and they both have continued to kind of create these really interesting AI features where the video is linked inside of the actual email in the form of a GIF. So you see oh, there's a person talking. I'm going to click on that button. And when they click and open it, most of the time the personalization comes in the form of, hey, and then it guesses the first name based off of the pronunciation that it hopefully is assuming is correct. Hey, Muhammad. Hey, Adam. And if you go to SendSpark right now, I know because I've set up a bunch of these things, you can actually see the demo of them kind of showing how this works. That's the only personalization on a very low level within some of the more rudimentary AI avatar type of ways of doing outreach. You can look into some of these other platforms and they are wildly overpriced, where it's like to generate 3 videos, you're looking at $24 a month. And it's like, well, that doesn't make sense for me. And
I completely agree.
Yeah, it's way too much. And so there are solutions that are coming down the pipeline that allow you to kind of build your own version of that. But is somebody saying my own name as part of the introduction of a video and maybe showing a scrolling version of my website behind them, is that something that is valuable enough for me to be like, oh, wow, they tailored this just to me? I would say for older generations, maybe. For younger generations, I'd say millennials and below, it's like, dude, who cares? Congrats.
Yeah, but actually it's kind of interesting that you mentioned generation, because I think we millennials, we are kind of lucky between we started before internet, we grew up with internet, and right now we see an era of AI, right? And for me personally, I think a lot of millennials, we can distill this, differentiate the difference between AI and not AI. And for our parents, for sure, it's a real person. And I asked a few Gen Z, I think, or maybe even Alpha generation, I show them a few AI videos and they say, yeah, okay, just a video. They don't care about AI or not really. It's a video. It's a good one video. Okay. It says that entertain me and it's okay. And for them, maybe this approach really will, stand out a lot rather than just email for sure. Especially they grew up with all these social videos, TikTok, Instagram, etc. Maybe these video avatars make a difference for them. Let's move on to another one, more practical. For example, I know that, for example, I would like to send 1,000 videos, 1,000 outreach videos with my, avatar to potential 1,000 affiliates, just partners. And how can I do it? What to pitch this automatically? What is the tool stack?
Yeah.
For this?
So this can be in different degrees of complicated depending on the bells and whistles. But let's say like we're taking into account that we've more or less already done the targeting, the discovery, and the enrichment. So back in the day, you would maybe use a platform like, I don't know, Apollo, or I literally have thousands of spreadsheets of these different tools lined up. But yeah, let's say you use Apollo for discovery, and then you do enrichment. You run it through something like Clay, and Clay gets you the ability to kind of create this custom message, somewhat interesting. Let's say that then you want to embed this video within that message. That's where you can start to get, I would say, relatively playful with the way that you're creating this unique message. So some of the more cutting edge ways to do this, you could step into an IDE type of tool. Are you familiar with IDEs?
Yeah.
Okay. So like my favorite, and for those that are listening that don't know, IDE is basically like an integrated development environment. So my favorite right now is Anti-Gravity. A lot of people have probably heard of Cursor or Replit, or even on like the further end of like user experience and rudimentary like Bolt, or I don't know, again, like not Superbase, Jesus Christ, hold on. I wish
you said about Google Anti-Gravity, right?
Yes, Google Anti-Gravity is kind of my go-to. So let's say that you wanted to build essentially a daisy-chained version of this together. I would potentially pull in VO3, and VO3 allows me to clone myself and my face. You're looking at a relatively low price point of generating each individual video. If it's more than 8 seconds and you're looping those 8 seconds together, the price point goes up exponentially, which can make it very expensive. If you're trying to back off of that and you realize like, hey, there's a lot there and that sounds a lot more complicated, I promise you it's more or less just kind of working your way through it. The first couple of times I got into Google's Anti-Gravity, I was blown away by how fast everything was actually going together. It's literally a vibe coding tool which allows you to do text to just crazy amounts of code. You do need to have a backend. That's why I mentioned Superbase earlier. I've used Firebase, and that's kind of my go-to. I think I've clung on to Google Stack a little heavier or more heavily than I used to. But you would essentially be able to create this and then pair that with your massive list inside of a database to be able to run these through some type of outreach tool, whether that is, I don't know, everybody has like their favorites, but like, I wish I had built out my stack and like had like a presentation ready. Like, what was the most recent one? Smart Lead is kind of my go-to for email outreach. And so I would probably have this AI video sent via campaigns that were personalized in Clay, and the video was generated using not Google AI Studio, Anti-Gravity with VO3, and then put together. A more rudimentary version of that would be using something like SendSpark that personalizes just the first name and then gives the same like overall message. You could get super creative with basically compiling all these tools together, but I think from a high level, that's kind of your go-to. So to sum it all up, you have to build your target list, and that's using some of these really old school tools like Lucia or Apollo. If you wanted to do that with Anti-Gravity, you could use MCPs that would pull in from various tools that are essentially like large servers of scraping bots that come up with these email addresses you still have to validate. So then maybe you would want to use Clay or some other enrichment waterfall tool like Better Contact, and then you would be able to personalize the message using either Anti-Gravity to loop all these tools together, or manually doing it, which I don't recommend, or potentially there's some type of Clay automation that I'm not familiar with. But ultimately you end up with a version of a templated structured video that is paired with the message that has this message embedded as a, let's just call it a GIF that shows like a preview moving image, as opposed to sending them a 500 megabytes, a 30-second video. That's never going to happen. So you need something compressed that then is embedded and on a different server. So when they click and open that to view it, they could see it. There's a bunch of other caveats in here, and I realize I'm getting like crazy abstract. I think you have to see this in order to really understand it. The challenge is multifold. So like if you include this embed inside of that message, half the time these email service providers are going to basically throw it into spam because they're like, hey, this is some weird link that doesn't belong in a normal first time email. Why are they sending you this? So like you have that barrier to overcome. And let's say they do view it. My issue, and I'm sure they've corrected it by now, but my issue with SendSpark was that they were so inundated and overloaded on their servers that when somebody would open to view that video image and see the video, it took like 8 seconds to load. And so it was like, okay, well, we got like a pretty good open rate on this, but nobody's actually able to watch these videos because who's going to sit there and wait 8 seconds for a video to actually load? So the long and short of this crazy long rant is that, maybe that isn't the best way to engage with people using personalized video, and maybe you should be focusing more on the messaging and drawing people towards you as opposed to reaching out towards them.
Okay, agree. It sounds like if I would like to make a mass outreach for 1,000, it might be better to use something simple, just an email. And if they respond or click somewhere, here is the personalized video, because it's like makes sense because you can send them. It's a lot of traffic.
Yeah, that's about right. I mean, there's so many different ways to do hyper-personalization. I just think that email is becoming more and more difficult, and it really depends on the offer. If you're reaching out to people to sell them like typical B2B, software as a service stuff, it unless you are bringing an incredible offer, it's really difficult to convert people. And I think half the time people ignore what the nature of the offer is in favor of just doing large scale blasts. And it's like, well, if your product sucks, like who cares?
If your offer offers only benefits for you, not me.
Yeah. So true.
pretty much the same. Okay, and welcome to our Tapfiliate podcast. And today I'm having a Taylor Ryan. I guess it's AI guru, CMO, and Web3 guru as well. Hey Taylor, can you introduce you a bit?
Sure. Yeah, thanks for having me. So I'm a 6-time startup founder, originally from Washington, D.C. I've been working in the blockchain sector for the last going on 7 years, overall 18 years of experience. Built and scaled 4 different startups here in Denmark to eventual exits. I used a lot of, I would say, automation paired with a lot of outreach in order to do massive scaling from a little country, Denmark, to some of these really interesting and large players that were globally in our kind of target areas. And yeah, I've gotten super deep into blockchain, crypto, and Web3. Currently, I'm the COO of Nodes Garden, which is a AI marketplace for anybody that wants to run nodes, usually within blockchain, crypto, and Web3. But there's obviously a lot of use cases for anybody that's trying to, at scale, run something that they can hopefully have diminished server costs or boost up their CPU usage to be able to generate a lot of this video or whatever it is that they're trying to build.
Okay, and let's move on right to the not main, but one of my questions related to affiliate marketing, because we at Tapfiliate, as I'm as representative of affiliate marketing platform, would like to know more about it. I know that in some cases, I think, because we are talking about our personalization, a CEO can give a permission of his face and voice for affiliates to use them to make the offer, etc. Right? Like, it's unusual case because it's kind of a question of trust, right? But let's imagine if a CEO, a brand, give a permission, how do we, I don't know, can whitelist or moderate the script to ensure that a brand safety is still the same while given kind of freedom to partners to use our avatars? What would you recommend?
Is the big question of like, how do you get a CEO to just sign off on saying like, hey, go nuts and here's, my face kind of thing? Like, more or less, yeah.
It's a marketing story, right?
Yeah.
If it's a startup, especially, of course, you have to convince somehow, I don't know, some big name from your company or CEO to give a permission to.
Sure.
And actually, I think like maybe it's kind of off top, but right now, as I see, the more public person, CEO or CMO, of course, it's not. It depends. As usual, it depends. But if we are talking about some mass product for business, for people from business, like Lovable, for example, right? The more people go public, the more they can grow. And that is why I think like given a permission to use a CEO face, of course, like there is a exact fine line, like how not to break the brand, how not to damage this authority of SEO. And that's really the question. How can we?
Yeah, I think, the honest answer is most companies, depending on the size, are not going to play ball with that. And it's for so many different reasons. Like I remember giving a presentation when I was over in Sweden for a digital marketing conference, and they were so hung up on the what we can't do and I don't want to touch that, and that seems like it may get me in trouble. And it's like, okay, then don't bother. Like, the idea of like you're representing your brand, and sometimes you're going to end up in situations that you didn't predict would come out of this. But sometimes any news is good news, or at least you're learning as you go, and this is generating momentum. Do you remember it was about a year ago when Duolingo announced that, we're going to lay off some people and we're focusing purely on AI for this year? Do you remember when that was like a big thing? Yeah, so like Duolingo has tripled, either double or tripled their amount of users between last year and this year. So while people are like, oh heavens, like everybody should boycott Duolingo, and it's like, no, these guys did a great job and they figured it out, and AI isn't useless when it's used properly. And so what you end up finding is that, yeah, there's a number of companies that could use AI from the standpoint of representing their CEO to be in all the places and do it really well. Or you could make a McDonald's commercial out of the Netherlands and pay some BS agency a small fortune to create a bunch of really awful looking video clips that were all stacked together. There's two very similar narratives there where somebody used AI, one person figured it out and did it properly and executed on, I would say, a very professional level, and another group was amateurs. So you have growing pains, you have opportunities. Those that reach for those opportunities and take chances are going to be the ones that actually succeed. Those that don't are eventually going to get left behind. That's the nature of what is. I just think most CEOs, especially in larger organizations, don't want to put their face into things that they can't control. And I think that's always going to be a challenge.
Yeah. I exactly agree. Well,
like, would the CEO of your company be down for you guys using his likeness or her likeness for campaigns?
Not sure, but no, I guess she won't. But actually, I think I can give a permission to use my face, whatever our affiliates would like. Of course, if they use it properly, moderated to approve the video, etc., some kind of narrative. But I guess I can. It's just because from some point at the moment we are in a kind of move to attention marketing, right? We start spending less on paid activities and increase our attention to go more public. brings some results, actually, great results from
Well, tell
our
me.
perspective. Like, we cut down our budget in paid activities, I think, like, but year over year, like 50%, and we increase our customers based and our like brand awareness approximately in 60%. Kind of.
Okay.
Like, we cut down our budgets, we spend less on our advertisements, but we got more leads and more customers just going in awareness and start spreading the word about affiliate marketing, like start talking about it.
Got it. But the talking about it, is that through video? Is that through reaching out to partners and doing co-branding stuff? Is that content? Is that like tutorials? Like how are you getting? I'm just always down to learn. Like what worked best for you?
Well, for us, best working is partnering, of course, with the experts. We started like a podcast, etc. We start recording podcasts. We start communicating and growing our network with experts who are talking about our industry, where we provide a solution, who like point out some pains, struggles with tracking, affiliate program management, and etc. We start partnering with them, talk with them, communicate with their social posts, and they do it in return, of course. Kind of pretty much like this.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, that definitely works, and it aligns with what I'm seeing as well in terms of trying to utilize either partners, people you integrate with, or even KOLs or content creators to kind of talk about things that are relevant, as opposed to just blasting out your own social media channels to nothing and nobody.
Yeah, because like and we see it, and we start using it more and more. Like, there are more and more partnership in marketing these days, because all this Google, of course, Google, Facebook, Meta ads, LinkedIn ads, they works, but sometimes they're so expensive, and especially if you have some kind of, I know, big competitors, you can't beat them. They have much more investments in this channel. You just can't. But start talking, be closer. The main benefit of a small company, it's being agile. Be faster, sometimes be closer. Like big companies, I know, okay, for example, SEMrush or Ahrefs, they're doing a great marketing. They talk a lot with their audience, but they have, I don't know, 50, I don't know, like SEMrush have 15 members in the marketing team, etc.
Yeah.
And of course they are doing a lot and you can't beat them, but you can be closer to audience that not use them or consider, because they are not so cheap from time to time. Especially, for example, I know maybe if you use Ahrefs or SEMrush, for example, we use Ahrefs, and they have this brand radar AI citation tool for checking how many AIs talking about you, and etc. And it costs $650 monthly, something like this.
On top of the $200 you're already spending.
Yeah, exactly. And the most interesting thing, they of course they talk a lot about it in their social platforms. But when I try to figure out the value for a small company as we're kind of small, there is no value at all. Like, okay, I know how AIs compare me with our competitors, and that's all. I can't use it, but I have to pay like $600.
Yeah, the information's cool, it's cute, but like, what am I supposed to do with this information? Like, where's the action that results in either higher conversions, more revenue, something that I can really measure other than, hey, that's a nice dashboard to show my boss. Like, okay, now what?
Yeah. It's not giving me more money. I just take more money from my side. But okay, let's move on to another one related to AI clones and AI clones. I know that right now avatars, they can speak like different languages. I know, whatever language you would like to use, Japanese, German, Portuguese, and etc. What do you think? Is it worth it to use it like AI avatars, or it's like, or much better to English with subtitles?
Yeah, I think it depends on the platform. So if you're Mr. Beast or a similar large scale content creator and you have a crazy amount of subscribers, then yeah, of course, like you have a proven entity that you're already monetizing within your audience, and you're able to multiply your audience practically overnight by creating sub channels that are essentially just dubbed. Those are a proven entity, and I think Mr. Beast is actually invested in a handful of those, which, kudos, good for him. I would say from a standpoint of like creating tutorials and those types of things, like there's definitely value in there. I do think that there's some interesting kind of non-cultural things that just don't really work, and I don't know if everything being dubbed in multiple languages, especially when it's a terrible video that doesn't convert in your own language or does poorly on testing, like it's probably going to do poorly across the board. So I would say that it isn't the most viable way of putting time, effort, and energy into stuff. That being said, I never spent a ton of time translating a ton of my work because I was focused on one major audience, and that was those that spoke English. I work in Denmark, so the percentage of people that speak English in Denmark is like 90%. So yeah, I guess I could do it in Danish. People like, oh, there you go, good for you, But I wouldn't be losing or gaining anything out of it. If my target market was Korea and I needed to reach that audience, then I should be putting more time into potentially finding a way to make sure that I am mirroring all of the same material, content, documentation, and all that good stuff for those audiences. And I think a lot of people miss that opportunity, but there's got to be a very strong use case and a lot of signals that, hey, this did work in this particular vertical, in this language, therefore let's go for it. I think just doing an omni language version for everything is a very expensive way to create content.
Yeah, but for example, even from our side, we start translating our written content from our blog post to Spanish, Portuguese, French, and Dutch, I think. Yeah, Dutch. And actually, we see results. We almost double our trials from these languages, especially from Portuguese and Spanish. Actually, from Portuguese, I think it's because of Brazil and Argentina. Brazil. Yeah. And we are not translated a lot. We translated just a few our top articles in these languages, and it's already bringing result. And I just wondered if we translate videos using some AI clones, because it's much better, in my opinion, it's much better will translate, because at least it's somehow it can imitate emotions, not quite particular accurate, but somehow at least it's not like completely robotic, right? It's at least and will they increase our conversion for these countries or not really? Because people from Latam, they used to read in their language, because even we see that a lot of our customers or their affiliates, they translate pages using Google Translate, this extension of Google.
Yeah, well, I mean, to go back to what you were saying, do you know why going multi-lang with your website worked? I'm sure you probably know. The answer is 50% of the internet is in English. So when you go to a far less competitive language, you are far more likely to rank as either number one, number two, number three. So you give yourself a much higher chance of being discovered in a less competitive environment. And yeah, if you have customers, I mean, a platform like yours is probably working for pretty much any demographic, so it makes sense. I would say for certain SaaS products that are maybe a little more expensive, it's difficult to rationalize why, I don't know, putting in another 5 languages would turn into a beneficial thing, depending on how you do lead scoring to see, like, hey, we get literally nothing out of leads that are coming from this country, and this country. But, there's a use case for trying it out and seeing what happens if you do this. It's just, whether or not you can get the higher ups to appreciate those tests for what they are, and when a nice outcome happens, then you have to make sure to say, hey, like, when we test like this again, remember that this was a happy accident that turned into something great. I want to test some other things.
Yeah, but can you share maybe a few names of tools that have the better AI clone translations?
So I have not done any of the AI clone translation stuff for voice.
But maybe you've heard of it.
Yeah, of course.
Some.
I mean, like, there's 11 Labs, and I think everybody kind of knows that as like the main one. I've used a few of these, so like for a little while I was looking for like the best voice cloner, and I went through so many different voice cloning tools. I would say 11 Labs has a freemium version that allows you to at least test it out. There's HeyGen. I'm sure that there's a few others that I've tried. It's been a little while, but I think the standard these days, and it happens so fast, turned into 11 Labs. And I mean, they kind of came out of nowhere. It's an incredible tool, and they continue to add new features. So, that would be the go-to, at least for testing, to try it out to see if it works.
And there is another point. It's always for video and video content, it's kind of cost versus scale calculation, etc. And generate video can cost a lot, as you mentioned. And at what point does the strategy of creating AI videos make sense for, I don't know, for what kind of businesses maybe?
The challenge is like, I'm I'm trying to do a couple of like really fun and quirky like AI generated video projects, and yeah, even at like the base level of using like Google AI Studio gives you a number of kind of credits to play with, and then you build your own automations, and within that you can use these base credits for free. But it very quickly jumps up where you're looking at maybe 15 to 75 cents a second, which is so not affordable for anybody, especially if you want to do this at scale. So the question is, like, what does at scale really look like when those are the existing price points for trying to generate AI personalized video? And I don't know if that's really where it's at right now. I mean, like, yeah, you could use Synthesia, and that would be like, your co-pilot / your help assistant on the website, but like, I think that's super gimmicky and not terribly helpful. So I just don't see a huge like market right now for that, just given how expensive it is. But like, if you look at what happened with WAN when it came out, like WAN.video, like the idea of giving this all away for free and essentially allowing people to generate a nearly free capped version of this stuff starts to open up a lot of creative angles and ideas. But I just don't know if there's a cheap version that people would be able to play with that looks professional enough. And I certainly haven't uncovered it yet, but I think that's kind of one of those really interesting hacks that eventually somebody's going to figure out in a really cool way.
Yeah, and we are getting closer to the last question, last point from my side that I would like to know. It's kind of your future prediction of AI clones. For example, right now there are a lot, most of these AI avatars, they are static videos, right? How do you think how close we are to real-time AI clones?
I think we're probably, I mean, I'm sure that there are people that are building and playing with those now. I think that's the future of entertainment. It's essentially your AI avatar, conversation buddy, your therapist, but also your source of entertainment from the standpoint of like, I want to watch a cool video about a Forrest Gump like character, but 10,000 years in the future, make it. And you essentially give it that simple prompt, and you have a feature-length film that you can sit down and watch and be ridiculously entertained. Or you grab the images of all your closest friends, you upload it. I literally do that now. So I use VO3 to invite my friends to either my birthday or, hey, I haven't caught up with you, James, in a month. Like, send a quick video of James Taylor wants you to go drinking with him, and it's a mission. And yeah, I mean, it took less than 30 seconds for me to prompt and run it, and they're using free credits, and I was entertained, so was he. So I think we're there on that front, but I think feature-length films are probably a year, if not a few years out.
Yeah, actually, it's sometimes it's kind of okay. It's not scary, but how it's going so fast with all these AI tools, and like everyone's saying like it's took your job, but as I see it is not. It's just took a job of a mediocre specialist if you are a real
That's somebody though.
Yeah, because like if you are a professional, it can't took your job. It just improve your output. It just give you resources to make your job much faster, better, and etc. But of course, if you're kind of low level specialist who would like to and who satisfied with a mediocre result, like because I see a lot of colleagues, not on colleagues and other marketers who use AI just copy and paste. They ask copy and paste without any checking, without proofreading, without correction, and it means they don't care about the results, and it means that I, with a proper prompt, can replace them easily because they also don't check and proofread what they writing, sending, and etc. It's just
I agree. I would say just to tag on that, the challenge is I think you're going to find that most people are not going to pick up these tools readily or eagerly because they're unfamiliar, they seem difficult or challenging, and they require effort, time, energy. You have to like wrestle with them and figure out like, why doesn't this do the thing that I thought it did? And oh, it does this, which is slightly differently, which means I have to prepare for all of these other things. It requires you to level up, and most people can't be bothered. It's like, dude, I only get paid to be here between this time and this time. I already have stuff that I got to do. I know how to do it this way. I'm just going to keep doing it this way until I get fired. And that for most people is okay, especially in bigger companies. It's like there's no rush to really do anything differently. Don't know.
Yeah. But okay, your final prediction of AI. What should we expect in 2026? What do you think?
I mean, this year there's going to be, I would say, a few really weird things that are going to happen that at least I'm already seeing coming down the pike. So like recognizing me take like one step back. So a lot of what I was working on towards like the middle of last year was trying to figure out how to monetize these like AI YouTube channels and like TikTok channels. And the problem is this is that dead internet theory. So like when you have everybody creating AI slop, everything is slop and everything sucks. And unfortunately, that is becoming easier and easier for the average mediocre or less than mediocre marketer to do, or mediocre person. So there's going to be stopgap measures that are either proof of humanity, proof of work, like this was actually shot on a real camera and not exported via one of the many different AI platforms, which will reduce the amount of content, which means real content creators that are making genuine content that may be paired with AI elements are going to receive more attention and more spotlight. And hopefully we get rid of a lot more of the AI slop that is just so poorly done. But I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. But I can already see a lot of platforms are trying to either demonetize completely or de-incentivize anybody that's generally just blasting out tons and tons of worthless content. But it's going to be a little while.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that 2026 it would be kind of focusing of AI usage, because like me personally, I don't like a Lovable, but I know that a lot of people they like it. Like, okay, you can create a website in a few minutes. Okay, a few seconds, not a few seconds, a few minutes. Actually, it's pretty slow in generating. But for me personally, it's awful product because I've tried it with the proper prompt, with the screenshots of mockups. I created mockup in Figma and sent the screenshots to Lovable, etc. Yes, I even tried like this. And eventually, result is a pretty crap. It's like a total trash. It's not even closer to my mockup. It like, for example, I created a mockup in the Figma of my landing page. Pick up the right color for the text, font, spaces between what should be here, and here.
Super
the
detailed.
Logo,
yeah.
The logo, yeah, and just send a screenshot. Here is like 4 slides for the landing page. It should be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 scroll downs.
Yes.
And send to Lovable. And what it copy from my screens is only the text, not colors, not spaces, nothing.
You got the and purple gradient.
Yeah, and it was pretty average. Why people so obsessed with the Lovable? It's pretty. It's like kind of. It's pretty. Even my wife, they say, well, okay, but why should I use Lovable, for example, to create a website if I can use a WordPress template? Pretty much the same. Because right now it looks like the same. Like previously it was a lot of templates in a WordPress. I don't know, all other landing page generator. And right now you use Lovable to create the same crap landing page, or it can generate maybe some application. And for example, to try something, I know not MVP, but just to figure out, will be this application works, or can I like this? It's okay. But for serious work, I don't know.
What's the tool that you would maybe explore using as opposed to Lovable for landing pages? Would it be like a framer? Would it be Claude Code, Cursor, like an IDE kind of setup? Or like what would you use as opposed to Lovable? Because I agree, I've had kind of the same issues. I think there's a limited context window, so you don't get maybe as much detail in those.
Yeah. Well, I think I will try to use maybe even Google Gemini, because I think it also can generate maybe not the whole website, but at least a page clickable with the clickable elements. And I need just the code because my website is stored on a Webflow. I will transfer my website to Webflow, not use Lovable as a domain for sure. I'll use like usual dedicated platform. And maybe like for making a code, right now like I'm stick more to Google Gemini, and I think it's mostly because of an ecosystem. Because they started as a Gemini, but right now they use a lot of in a different ways Google even, and they became better and better.
Yes.
And I think I will try to use to generate a code of website via Gemini.
Nice. Yeah. I've
The
been using
only
a lot of Gemini too, so I'm with you.
Yeah, the last off top actually. The last conversation was off top, but I think I only hope that this 2026 Gemini will implement the same kind of feature as doing ChatGPT, integration with other platforms. Like you can use inside ChatGPT, you can use Canva, Photoshop, etc. You can use even with Apple ecosystem ChatGPT at the moment with Apple Intelligence. You can use ChatGPT, but you can't use Gemini inside natively in the settings. You can use as an application using like shortcuts, etc., just to fire up. But ChatGPT, it's already inside the system. And maybe that would be nice because sometimes, of course, I also use some, Canva to generate images for a specific format for LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and because like to generate via Gemini, they pretty much it's kind of hard to say I need this kind of format. They generate whatever they like.
Yeah, I'm kind of seeing the same things. Have you played with any of the browsers like Comet as part of Perplexity or any of the kind of like headless? No, those I think that's gonna be kind of like the next area of like you can literally just build the agent's workflow inside of like an IDE like Antigravity, and then you give it access to your browser where it's like go do these things. It's like not an MCP, it's like an agent on top of the browser doing stuff, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, I haven't used it, but my colleague, he used this Atlas, I think, from Perplexity, right? And actually, he was used it kind of interesting way. He studied on MBA, and he created a sequence and build an agent to find people from his course on LinkedIn and send to all of them a connection request.
Okay.
Just by this. Like, here is my profile, here is the official page. Find those who have connection with me, say welcome, who doesn't have connection, blah blah blah, and etc. etc. And that's
Super
kind of nice. Yeah, that's kind of nice. Actually, I would like to play more with agents, and maybe I would like to with the anti-gravity, who knows.
Atlas is it's ChatGPT, but it's only, I just looked it up as you were explaining. I'm like, why haven't I used that? And then it's like, oh yeah, because it's only available for Mac OS. So they don't have I'm a Windows guy, so like I can't use it.
I used to be a Windows guy, but then a few years ago I've switched to MacBook, and I realized that okay, the ecosystem is much better than Windows.
Tough to go back.
It's really tough, especially when you have an iPhone. And I'm considering of buying iPad as a part of ecosystem because like there are so much features that you can use your phone, iPad, tablet, laptop, and all together.
Totally get it.
What makes it much easier. Sure. Like I used to be a Windows guy because like and especially when it became Windows 11, I guess so, it became much more better than previous like
Still sucks,
generation.
but I'm stuck with it. So
Unfortunately, yeah. I would like to have Power BI in Mac, but
that makes
unfortunately,
sense. Yeah.
But unfortunately, I like Power BI so much, but unfortunately, I can use just to make a virtual machine with the Windows, etc. It's like,
Sure.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally get it. Very cool.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Taylor, a lot. It was pleasure, fun video recording for me.
Good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time, man. Appreciate it.